Well, coolness.
How is everybody this morning?
Good, thank you.
Happy Memorial Weekend. I'm sure that we take some time with people in our lives and think, it's always a, I saw something say, we have to remember that today, this weekend is not a national barbecue weekend, right? There's a reason behind it, so it's a fun conversation. Right? Really excited about this morning, and just some of the stuff that is occurring. And so we're going to break through some stuff again. Hopefully, we leave us better than we found us. Guys excited?
Yeah.
Yep.
So Wednesday night was fun. Got some.
Did any of it say?
I didn't check, but I don't think so. So which is a bummer because Wednesday was a good meeting. So, we're at a really fun place. So, and I'm glad that it's funny. It's one of those things that we need to grow, right? And and things kind of happen for a reason. So the folks that are in this room is it's kind of nice that we're tying down some of the stuff that we're doing because we really are kind of transitioning into the next thing. I don't know if any of you guys have Sirius XM radio, but if you do, there's channel 111, which is the business Wharton School of Business has a radio program, like a station, and it's freaking unbelievable. It's just literally, I mean, they have financial services guys on there every once in a while, which is kind of a pain in the ass. But really, I mean, there's just from entrepreneurial and from business owners and stuff like that. It's actually really cool. It's almost worth the $8 to subscribe for the $8 a month to subscribe for that channel. In terms of some of the stuff, and maybe not brand new, but as folks start, as people start getting to division and regional leaders, start thinking about vice president, I would definitely recommend that. You can also get it on your phone and stuff like that for like $3 a month or something like that and stuff like that. So, but it was funny as I was driving in today, and it was one of those things. I always know it's a problem or in a positive thing. You guys ever like listen to the radio and then you get to where you want to go, and you turn off the car, but not quite the radio because there's just this thing and you think it might be 30 seconds and then like 7 minutes go by and you still aren't out of the car yet, right? And you're like, I have to go, right? So you like have your stuff all ready, and I'm like, that was this morning. I'm here and I go, I got stuff to do and I couldn't get up because it was interesting because I had they were interviewing the guys that were responsible for Tyco turnaround. And it was an interesting thing because kind of his conversation and today's meeting were overlapped. And I'm like, so for me, I'm like, yes, this is awesome, right? It's always kind of a fun little thing. And then I'm like, okay, but then I have to go, right? So I'm like, but because otherwise I'd still be there, right? And I'm an addictive, like I just get addicted. So, but I want us to kind of recognize where we are. And the first part of today might be a little confronting because I think that's where we need to start with some of this, and in a healthy, positive confront, okay? So kind of thinking about this, and it's funny because I had this laid out, and then this was kind of, it was cool, right? And we've heard this stuff on AA'z night, and we've been talking about this, but, one of the things we've got to figure out is, do you believe that there's a real problem in this country, right? So we talk about the 70 million families that are stuck. Is this a real problem, right? And I think most of us, we can check that box saying yes, right? Is the solution viable? If we could provide access to the financial education, the tools to create wealth, and a path to ownership, is that a viable solution to this real problem? Again, most of us are in this place where we're like, yes. Does the system we've got, is the system solid, right? The fundamental building blocks of getting wide, of impacting families, and of building allies, advocates, and associates. Is that system a solid system that can be able to deliver the solution to the real problem, right? We've got to kind of go through and question it. And now all of a sudden, for some of us it's this, for some of us it's this, for some of us it's this, and for some of us it's this, right? And that's okay, right? But we've got to kind of, I think we've done a really good job over the last couple of years locking these two things down, right? Is the support system in place, right? When it comes to the concept of the strategic partnership, is Primerica and the back office, are they in place? Is our distribution, right? Is the support systems that we're going to need to have in place for you, right? And again, it's going to be kind of this question for me, right? I come and go, they are. So we go, look, so if we break down any process, we're like, okay, is there a legitimate problem that needs to be solved? Yes. Is there a legitimate solution that can solve that problem? Yes. Is there a system in place that if they run the system will solve the real problem? Yes. And is there a support system in place to make sure that if we run the solid system that the problem can be legitimately solved? Right? And we've got to kind of run through, and do we have the language to explain it? Right? Well, for me, those are really big checks. When we spent 4 years creating the language, we didn't create the problem, it was there, but we had to create the language, and we had to create the solution, and we had to create the support system, and we had to create the system, and we had to create the support system. There's one thing missing, only one, and it's, do we have the team in place to leverage the support system, to be able to run the system, to be able to solve the problem that's legitimately there? Right? And it was funny because I was having this, I'm like, okay, how's it going? And the guy that was brought in to take over Tyco and to change it, first thing he had to do was the board hired him, and then he had to convince everyone on the board to resign. Which they're talking about, was this a unique opportunity? Because yes, this was quite a unique thing. I brought in to fix Tyco, right, when they were getting sued and all this other stuff in the early 2000s. He goes, the number one thing I have to do is get all of you to resign at the same time and like it. Right, and he's kind of walking through. And then they had to bring in new people to be able to sit on the board. He goes, and I can't know any of them. He goes, because if I know them, then they're not going to be independent. We've got to work. So he's walking through this whole process of how they had to attract people that could be part, and he's talking about the quality and the intent of the people. And I was like, this is exactly where we are, right? Our business, all of us are independent business owners. All of us are building something. Now we're a conglomerate. We're part of something bigger, right? Team Access is something bigger than Sears and Associates or Trudell and Associates or Allen and Associates. There's something bigger that we're a part of to be able to contribute, to be able to solve this. Does that make sense? Well, it really now is going to come down to, we could have the biggest problem facing this country, which I actually believe we do. We could have the most viable solution this country's ever seen for that solution, which I absolutely do. We could have the best companies in place to be able to support, I absolutely do. And we could have the cleanest system to be able to walk somebody through how to do it, and I absolutely do. Now it's going to come down to, do we have the people to actually pull this off? And now that's, the funny thing is, this has nothing to do with building a Primerica business. Right? The last 4 years I've been building a Primerica business. For 15 years I ran a Primerica business. Hire and train directs. Come to a meeting, all right, let's get your list, let's get on appointments, let's go tell the story, let's go tell the story, let's go tell the story, let's recruit more people, let's train them, let's have skill buildings, let's have this, let's do this, let's create this. All of it was about building this team. The problem is, the problem was still real, the solution was sort of real, the system was terrible, and the support system was non-existent. And so all of this time, this wasn't built on strength, in my opinion, as humble as it is. Or not. So we spent a lot of time building this. Check. Great. Now we get to go back and build the team over the next 5 years that can leverage the support systems, drive the system to actually deliver the solution to solve the problem. But it's interesting to start thinking about the team, because we have a voluntary army. So it's interesting listening to people that build companies that have stock options and paychecks and reviews, right, and a hierarchy structure, where we don't have that. We have a hierarchy structure. We have a way less formal hierarchy structure than a traditional corporate company, right? Because as long as you don't lie and or steal, there's no real repercussions. You're not going to get fired. Where behavior in a traditional company would get you fired. Think about your tangible mind, but I'm talking when I talk. So for the next like 15 minutes, when I say you, can y'all give me a little bit of room on this? That I'm talking about me and you. Like I'm asking you to confront you. I'm not saying you, Cindy, me here, you here. This conversation. I'm confronting. Brett's sitting here too, and there's just this speaker that's coming out. Can I not? Can you guys give me a little bit of latitude with this, right? Because otherwise it's going to be clumsier, right? That makes sense? So, but if you look at your tangible results over the last 6 months or a year, would you be on the payroll of a company if they were in sales and marketing based on the results and numbers you've contributed to this business? No, you're fired. Every one of you, every one of us will be fired.
Third place. You're fired.
Right? That's really important for us to understand. One, because it's really cool. Look, I am incredibly grateful that my ass couldn't be fired because I think this is really, really cool. And if I wasn't here to help be able to build this in the ground cover and do it, that would screw a lot of people. So the fact that Primerica gives us the foundation is unbelievable. It's great. I'm so appreciative. But when we're talking about building the team it's going to take to do this, we also have to understand there's a reason why the rest of the world doesn't function that way. We can very easily lull ourselves into a sense of entitlement saying, I can't be fired, so the standard of my behavior can be less than. And unfortunately, over the last couple of years, because this was the construction objective and this wasn't, we weren't having these conversations. Now, do I think anyone in this room should be fired? No. Have we been trying to grow and develop and put up? No. That's the foundation of what this conversation is. But what we have to be very careful of is, Richard, as we move forward, letting the validators of the last year or two allow us to not put new pressures on us for the new behaviors. I have self-imposed a significant amount of pressure on myself for the last 20 years. A significant amount of pressure on myself. The last 4 years, I've had a significant, but this is really important. I've had no more pressure or no less pressure on myself over the last 4 years than I did over the previous 4 years. Even though the previous 4 years we're running one of the top teams in the country. The objectives were different, but the standards weren't. Does this make sense? And so as we go through this, one of the things that we have to make sure that we realize is, what standards are we putting on? What team is it going to take to actually pull this off? To actually solve this problem with this solution, running this system, supported by what we've got, what quality of team and teams is it going to take to actually solve this problem? Because we have a phenomenal system and a real problem. If we don't have the quality of people to deliver on it, it won't matter. Why did we build it this way? Why do we build that? From allied advocate to associate with gap, part-timer, part-timer, full-timer, team owner, is there's a place for everyone. Why? Because the only way we're actually going to solve this problem to the level that we need to solve it is if we enlist lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people and have them be emotionally, spiritually, and tangibly involved in this message. Because we have to find amazing people to solve this problem.
Yes. The PP is a player?
This one?
No, it's part-time and then...
Part-time and full-time.
What's the PP?
That's an F.
Oh, part-time to full-time. Okay.
Sorry. No worries. So here's the thing. You guys have all been through this adventure. We've been through a lot. I believe that the leadership to the people in this room are a great building block for this. I don't know if you believe it. Having this conversation might overwhelm some people going, oh my God, I don't. We built all the support systems. We built it so that there's a place for it. But part of what I wanted us to realize is, guys, we've got a place for everybody. But to pull this off, Cindy, it's going to take high standards. It's going to take people understanding that we're building something that's incredibly real. And we now have the opportunity to go back to building a Primerica business. %90 of my time has been this, and 10% of my time, if that, has been this. Over the last little bit, it's come down to 60-40. And we now are at a place where it's closer to 80-20, or 80-20. 28. Here, I want you building a team. You're starting to. You're doing an amazing job. Is this making any sense? I have a question. If we were going to build, if we recognize this and we looked at this system here, and I went, you know what? We've got the 401k and the 457 system. We've got legitimate resources and tools. I'm going to call Primerica and see if we can pilot something. I actually want to build a corporate structure, division of Primerica. Because I think that with the resources and tools we can have, we can actually build a traditional corporate structure. No interest in doing this, but I just kind of played. Does this make sense? Would you be hired? And what would you be hired for? What role would you play? If you sat down and we interviewed and said, okay, what is this conversation? What are the goals? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What skills do you bring? What desire? What tendencies? You know what we want to get accomplished. You know what we're looking for. What do you bring? I want you, there's a place for you in this company. I just need to figure out what that place is. Based on your vision, based on your disciplines, based on your focus. And let's say that we were going to pay from $50,000 a year to $5 million a year, depending upon the place in the hierarchy structure of the corporation. I go through and I spent this morning kind of going through this, going, what would I do? What's my biggest weakness? What job couldn't I do? And if I had to, how would I calm? How would I correct it? What would I need to do? Because once I'm in a traditional corporate structure, my ass could be fired for not delivering. The board of Tycos had to resign. And the guy they brought in to fix it had to tell him. Like, that's big boy stuff. His very first day taking over this, 40% of the investors met in New York and they said, we're coming over. So he had a meeting with the top 40% of the investors the first day after delivering the message with the board. Right? We're talking, like, this is big boy, big girl stuff. But I'm listening to this guy going, there's nothing he's talking about that we're not talking about. More experience, more different. But he's talking about toys. We're talking about changing people's lives. We've got a delivery system, we've got a mechanism, we've got an environment, does this make any sense? So, because I want us to start, there's some really cool stuff that we're going to work on today. At least I think it's cool, right? And I'm really excited about drilling down and starting to kind of move from theory to practical, which is where we're now at, right? Because we're able to draw this line, we're able to do this, we now get to really go into this building this team. So now all of a sudden what we get to do is we take the theoretical and the principles of these and start applying them here. And we're going to spend a lot of time teaching and learning and training and growing and confronting and all of that other stuff. But at the end of the day, we can only build it to the level of vision our leaders can have. The premise of our sentence of you and I can only we can't outperform our own self-image. If we see ourselves as this, we can't do that. I pulled the numbers over the last 2 years of the people in my organization. And it's really fascinating that our incomes are exactly the same. My leadership team's income is exactly the same. Even though products have completely changed, systems have completely changed, delivery mechanisms and support, we don't do anything the same. The average incomes are identical. How? How does that work? If we have a completely new product line, a completely new mechanism, a completely new support system, no meeting, all this stuff, how are incomes, I mean, income, exactly the same. You'd think that would be impossible. Why isn't it impossible? Because we can't outperform our own self-image. If we think we should make $1,000, you know how much money we make? $1,000. If we make $5,000 and we think we should make $1,000, guess what's going to happen? We'll blow it up until we bring it back to where we know we're supposed to be, which is $1,000. So the solution is, and Jim Rohn said it, if you make $1 million, best you become a millionaire so you get to keep it. Right? Wade's done a great job in his business. The stuff that Wade and I talk about, we don't talk about Primerica, all this stuff. We're doing this stuff. The conversation I'm having, Wade's doing a great job building his vision of what his, like, because he's building something that he's going to be able to bring over to Primerica and be able to build. But the validation and the understanding is he's created what he's created, and it's valuable. Why? Because that self-image can then be generalized other places. Does this make sense? If we're talking about the key element to pulling this stuff off, look, we get the best team in the world. If we don't have a real problem, real solution, sooner or later, in my opinion, it'll all blow itself out. Right, it's one of those, working hard is not the key to being successful. I know lots of people who work really hard that aren't successful, but I don't know very many people that are successful that don't work hard. You have to work hard in America to win, but just working hard in America isn't enough to win. We have to have an amazing team. Just an amazing team without a great support system isn't going to work. But once we've got this, the ultimate solution, we got to put this stuff into the background now. Now the question is, how many and what quality do we get to develop here? Why did we build a system and a language to attract people who should do this business, not people who need to? In my opinion, it's a higher starting place. We attract more people with a higher self-image. People with a higher self-image, you can't outperform your own self-image. If we attract people with a higher self-image, we can accomplish more. Does that mean someone with a low self-image can't accomplish more? No. But what it means is the work they actually have to do is to increase their self-image while they're doing the work of growth. A little deep for a Saturday morning, but it's been a while since I've been having. We're entering my favorite time. Like, look, I had a lot of fun and confusion here. It was fun. Exhausting. Confusing because I've never done this before. This is my favorite. I love this stuff. I get to be me. But I get to get me, Cindy, leaning into it. Does this make sense? You're an amazing person. We all are, guys. We've done a great job. But it's just, it made me think about, if we had to go into a conversation, what skills are we bringing? What standards are we holding? Now, the flip side, we don't have a corporate system. I don't want one. I'm not your boss. I don't want to be. I have no interest in that dynamic, in that relationship. We actually have to introduce a boss. You have, like, we've all done this, right? If you've had a job where you're doing something, you're kind of messing around, you're not that serious, and then all of a sudden your boss comes around and you instantly kind of straighten up and do, like that's crap. We don't want that. Right? That's not the culture we want to create either. We want to be able to, you're a business owner, right? You're building your company. I'm building my company. We're a collaborative partnership that says, here, we're growing together. I'm a resource, right? I'm somebody, hopefully, that you see valuable, that we develop this relationship that says, man, hopefully, it's, man, I got to make sure Sirius is on my side because of the value that he has, not because if he doesn't, he's going to fire me. But I'd like us to start introducing the concept of standards back to ourselves. Because you all have them in your outside world. Don't you? Do we adhere from a tangible result standpoint? Your outside job world experience and your inside primary experience, are they the same? Do you hold yourself to the same level of accountability of production and response here as you do at your job? How are we going to solve the biggest problem in American history with great people that hold themselves at a higher standard at a job they don't like, that they're making not enough money to be able to do something? How are we going to solve this problem with that standard? How are we going to attract people that we can actually conquer this world with unless the leadership team applies the standard inside? Interesting conversations, isn't it? Now, it's a little unfair. It's a lot unfair. But it rains on the rich and the poor, so fair isn't our measure. Right? We teach the children this. Right? As soon as fair becomes the conversation ceases to exist. I have skills you don't have. True? You have skills I don't have. True? You have experiences I don't have. You have friends I don't have. You have talents. I have friends, I have talents. None of that's fair. The moment fair becomes some inkling of validator, you are screwed. Because you are down a rabbit hole, no one can join you. And the problem is, we don't even know we're in a rabbit hole. Look, all of us have gotten squirrely, and we're like, we even know we're squirrely, and we're like, screw it, we're just going to go on this adventure. Is this not true? Have you ever gone nutty, and like halfway through the nut fest, you're like, I have lost my mind right now, and I don't care, I'm just going to...
Let's just see where this goes.
Right? Right? We've all done that, and if you haven't, you're crazy. That means you're always in a nutty, right? It's just, or you're just disingenuous, and then this conversation doesn't help. Right? But we've all lost our minds. The problem is when we've lost our mind and we know we've lost our mind, we can actually correct it. The dilemma is when we've lost our minds and we don't actually know or accept that we've lost it. Any of us ever been wrong? We get into an argument, we've been wrong. As we're communicating, we're staying on and we're coming stronger and stronger and we're getting wronger and wronger and wronger. And then at some point, all of a sudden, the heavens open up and we're like, my first premise was wrong. And you see the scope of absolute insanity that you've communicated for however long. Ever had that happen? Those are fun experiences, aren't they? I don't know why I went down there. I just like those conversations. They're fun. Every once in a while, it's like, oh, yeah, no, totally screwed the pooch on that one. And how do you get out of that hole? How do you get out of it? This one isn't even part of the conversation, but we're just going to go through. How do you get out of that? There's only one way out. To own it. It's the only way. The only way to be free in that situation is going to be, let's screw the pooch on that one. Not, it's your fault that I did. Nope. And that doesn't happen to any of us very often, right? Thank God. But every once in a while, when you're just like, you guys aren't excited about that. Still haven't healed through some of those? It's all right. Okay, why are we talking about this? Because those are the things that start to affect us. If we have a higher standard at our jobs than we do in our business, that is going to affect the people we attract. That's going to affect the culture we have. That's going to affect the conversations we have. And ultimately, guys, that's going to affect the level of solution we can address for this problem. My goal is for the group of people in this room to truly have perspective of what's possible. Cindy, do you believe in the next 10 years, if you never missed a meeting, and we work with you step by step in your market, do you believe, one, and then how old are you, do you mind if I ask?
47.
47.
I sometimes forget.
I love how you had to think about that. That was great. You're like, I feel like I'm 27.
Do you believe in the next 10 years? Do you believe in the next 10 years, if you want to, you could be an RVP?
Yeah, you know, I used to write in my book on the first meetings. I used to write it all over the place. I'm like, where's my outfit's going to be? Burbank and Magnolia. And then I was like, I used to write it all over the place.
So, but yeah. But based on everything we're talking about, based on what you've watched, based on what we've seen, based on the work, based on what it's going to take, based on developing the market, based on running the systems, Based on running this stuff, do you believe that if you and I, if the three of us work together, the four of us work together, that in the next 10 years you could be a regional vice president?
Sure.
Okay, let's hopefully way sooner than that, but 10 years. Do you believe that you could have $15 million of assets under management into the managed accounts in the next 10 years? Now, I want you to think about all the people you know, all the people retired, all the stuff that, because I'm going to have Sue talk a little bit, you talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on, all the possibilities and opportunities, all of the things in front of you in Southern California. Do you believe that in the next 10 years you could find $15 million of assets under management into the managed account?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that you could teach 30 districts how to have $1 million each over the next 10 years?
Yes.
Do you believe you could build a team that helped 30 families lock in their advances with life insurance and roll over $200,000 of $10,000 to $15,000 trades a month in an organization, so you've got 50 or 60 people coming to a meeting? Do you believe 10 years from now you can have 50 or 60 people in your Bay shop?
Yes.
And while you're finding and cultivating, developing this, and finding these assets with all the infrastructure that we've got together, do you think that you could find one regional vice president, one person, to do half of this, help 15 families?
Sure.
Over 10 years, maybe 2. Tell me when it stops. 3, 4,
Okay, 4.
4. Okay. So you're 57 years old. You've got clients that are being serviced by the back office support company that you're cultivating and developing relationships. You've got 50, 60 people coming around that are helping folks that have just watched. And you've got 4 people that are just trying to duplicate what you've done, and they're on their own 10-year cycle. Leveraging the support system that you're not responsible for running and creating. A system that will have been proven and cultivated, you're running as an expert, with this legitimate solution that's being created and enhanced daily with a problem that has 70 million people. On a scale of 1 to 10, tell me your belief that at 57, this isn't just probable, they're possible, but probable to exist in your life.
It's a 10.
It's a 10. Based on how you're approaching the business today? I don't know the answer to that. Based on, because I asked, do you hold the same standard yourself in this business as you do at your job? Mm-hmm. And you shook your head kind of no.
I know.
So now I want you to ask yourself, if you maintain the level of accountability you hold on yourself here, juxtaposed to the accountability you have at your job, is this problem?
No, if I don't change it.
Isn't that fascinating? The only thing missing, and we're not even talking the same, we're talking the exact same person. And it's not that you have to be Superwoman. We're just saying, hey, we might care about our results here to the same level our job does for X amount of dollars. Isn't that fascinating? Now, your job, you don't have to tell me, but there's a number. I want you to write it down what you get paid a year. Okay. I'm going to say it's less than $100,000. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. This will pay you $8,300, and this will pay you $8,300 a month. So that's $16,000 a month. That's $200,000 a year in passive income. This pays you for $16,000 a month, which is an additional $200,000 in revenue, and it's 72, 114, 210, $280,000 in RBP overrides. So that's 400, 280, that's $680,000 of income, and you're 57 years old. That's $52,000 a month. I want you to look at your income for the year. And I want you to look at your income for a month and tell me which one you think you should protect.
That one.
Because right now, which one are you protecting? Emotion. Yes. That's our thinking. Yes, sir.
Do you think that one of the reasons that when people come into this, maybe it's just us or maybe it's people in general in this business, have that issue is that we're brought up as children to understand working for a job, like you go to school and so you go to first period, second period, get grades, and everything is linear. And this business, it's a business, so it's non-linear. Is that one of the hurdles that we have that thinking that way? Because you're exactly right. I mean, there's no difference between this and a job. If you want to look at it that way, you have to do so many things every day. The difference is well, now we've spelled it out. It's just that the mechanism for which you're paid is just different. But in effect, it's the exact same thing. You're doing work to get results. It's just the results aren't what we're taught as children as what a job is, and that's why we don't have the same approach to it. Is that part of it?
I would say there's three parts. I believe institutionalized, yes. On step one is some of us have been raised trade time for money. And I wasn't raised in that. I worked in restaurants and my family goes, so I'm like, right, I don't have it. I have a different way. I've always had a different way of looking at income and money, right? I work nights and weekends since I was 14 years old. We recruit people and they're like, my weekends are my own. Like, for me, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like that. So how we evaluate that, what is normal, will have an impact when it comes to that, pretty significantly. So yes, how do we traditionally combat it? Look, we're having this conversation, we know it, right? There's an elephant in this room, and the elephant in this room is we haven't been running the system. We've been spending our time doing this, so we haven't been building this. And there's no one in the room that's really been building this, so since no one in the room's been building this, there's no reason for anyone else in the room to build it. If we have 11 people in the room making between $2,000 and $7,000 a month part-time, it's a whole lot easier for our part-timers to put in the time it's going to take to do the things that they need to do to be able to make $2,000 to $7,000 part-time. If we've got 8 vice presidents that are making $250,000 to $800,000, it's a whole lot easier to get our entrepreneurs and the ones saying, okay, I'm going to do what I got to do to get this thing going because I know I can make $200,000 to $800,000 as a platform to go. When this is running and working and growing, it's a whole lot easier for people to go, oh, yeah, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to get that. But I know that if I run this system, I'll get this. Does that make sense? In the past, we didn't have a system, but it was, if I go vice president, I'm going to make $100,000. And if I'm a younger vice president, I'm going to make $200,000. If I was part of Marcus C. Younger's, right, their average vice president made $200,000. The company average was $100,000. You went to our vice president as a Younger's RVP. You did what they did. You were making $200,000 or $300,000. Piece of cake. The culture and standards in place. You can't outperform your own self-image, but you'll perform up to it. The belief system is, once we prove this to be fact, because it's fact, there's a belief system of, I know this to be fact. I know it to be fact. 17 months ago, I had $111,000 in assets under management. Today I've got in the management accounts. Today I'm at almost $7.5 million. By this time next year, I'll be at $15 million. By this time next year, I truly believe I'll have 5 people with at least $1 million in the base shop. So in 2.5 years, we'll have this taken care of and a part of this taken care of and what we'll be able to collect. I know in the next 8.5 years, this is a slam dunk. Does that make sense? So I have zero trepidation on this conversation. Zero. I'm watching Sue do it. Zero trepidation in the next 8 years that Sue will have this done. I have zero doubt. Does that make sense? I did this, so I know this works, so there's zero when it comes to this. And when the RVPs can actually build assets and predictable, consistent income, now all of a sudden they can be emotionally consistent and their production and their income can grow. It allows them to become significantly more attractive. What is our business about? Richard, our business is an attraction business. You skip everything away, it's an attraction business. It's the ability to sit with someone and say, you should follow me. You should be a part of this. Isn't it if we strip it all away, isn't it that? Well, who can, if your self-image is here, who can you look at and say, you should follow me? This guy? No. This guy. Does it make sense? What if you're there? You open that whole area. What if you're here? You open that whole area. What if we're here? We open that whole area. Does it make sense? Who does, if we recruit this guy or gal, who do they know? Those people. If we recruit this, those people. Those people. Who do they know? Those people. What is our business about? Attracting new people. Getting our new associates to turn and develop their market. Ultimately, we strip it all away. What do we need to do? We need to get our associates to develop their market. Every game plan, every conversation, everything we've done, everything we've created is how do we get our new associates to actively develop their market. When this is fact, not just in, so I can sit with people who make $300,000 and go, shoot, look, for you to make $300,000, you're going to have to keep doing what you're doing. Understand, we'll take 4 minutes and talk about this. Let's, just for this room, just so that it's fun, let's describe this person's life. Whoever this person is, let's describe their life. They're making $200,000 a year in passive income. Access support is talking to their 30 districts. Anytime a client revisits coming up, the support company is reaching out to the associates saying, hey, you need to do a review, you need to do a revisit. There's built-in institutionalized support systems to make sure that this group becomes a new feeding system because now they're going to talk to their clients. But it's not, Richard, it all falls on your shoulders. You're going to get a phone call from the back office, from the hub that says, hey, Richard, Billy's a client, he's been with you a year, man, you need to touch base with him, and here are some things you need to chit-chat about. So you don't have to think about Billy for a year. All of a sudden you get an email, all you got to do is follow through with it. It's already your client, so it takes 10 minutes. Am I having to do that? Me. If I'm this guy, or is this guy, let's name this person Mark. There's a lot of Marks in America. Let's name this person Mark. Is Mark having to make sure you're calling those clients and revisiting, and those 30 people are being revisited? No. Mark's got $15 million in personal assets. Is Mark having to call them a year? Yes. Is Mark having to facilitate, stay on top, organize, stay in charge, all that stuff, having to do any of that stuff? No. Mark's getting the same email you are. So Mark's developing relationships, and our business is built on AAA'z Advocates Associates. So if Mark's done it right, and if he's this person, he's probably learned to do it right. These are friends of his. So he's touching base with people he likes and says, hey, how's it going? Anything new? And they're going, what's new with your life? And so Mark has an opportunity to talk about how amazing things that are going on in his life are. I did a client revisit phone call yesterday. How are things going? His name is Ron. No, Ron, oh my God, I just got back from New York. It's unbelievable. We started doing these. Ron is a controller for a company. Ron, it's unbelievable. We started these financial wellness seminars. We started this, number 4, 5, 6. It's unbelievable what's happening. There's such an impact we're starting to have. Ron's like, that's fantastic. I go, I know we should probably grab a cup of coffee in the next 6 months because you and I should talk. He goes, absolutely. I did a client revisit for 5 minutes on the phone, and then here's the vision opportunity of what we're doing, and recruited a new advocate on the phone. Ron, anything changed last year? No. Need to make any change? No. Do we need to sit down? No. Cool. Man, we got to grab a cup of coffee. So Mark is enhancing his advocates. It's not a bad day. If there's 50, 60 people coming to a meeting, Mark's running a Saturday training, Saturday practice, and some version of an AA'z night. We haven't locked in everything like that. Is it every week? Is it every other week? Who knows what Mark's doing? If they're helping 30, Mark probably has 3 to 4 captains, 6 to 10 starters. So Mark's talking to his next round of leaders, and he's coaching his captains on how they're working with their starters, and he's driving his starters to become captains. And so he's teaching, man, how is he knowing what to do? He's teaching what we do. Remember that system that we got? His day is implementing a system. And then he's got 4 vice presidents that he's playing with, and he's busting their balls a bit because he's like, well, you're only half of it because these are people that he grew up with respect and understood that they were trying to compete, that there's an opportunity, there's a big problem, and he's cultivated a relationship, and the relationship wasn't tied on, did you do this right or did you do this right, because there's a back office support system that's cultivated all the different pieces. Right? Mark's entire job in developing these 4 vice presidents was teaching them how to master the system and watching them be better than he is. Question. How much time in a day we're running this business day? If you were Mark. Or in a week. 100 hours? Would this take you 100 hours? You have 4 owners that are running their own business that are doing this, so you're talking to them once a week, texting, hearing what's going on with them. This might be 100 clients, so you might make 2 calls a week, 3 calls a week. The back office support system is here. We run a pool. Is Mark on these appointments writing these sales, even if it's his market? No, he's got his new partners doing it. Tell me the quality of life of Mark. Cindy, you're 57 years old. This is your business. Are you bound to it? Oh my God, so stressful, I don't know what's going to happen. Is it going away tomorrow? No. Why? You have $200,000 of passive income. And you've taught your vice presidents how to build stability into their life. So the market corrects itself. Great. Someone gets sick. Someone gets divorced. You've taught your base shop to cultivate allies, advocates, and associates. You've got starters and players and captains that have been spending 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years cultivating their market, not going to Target. They always have people to go see. If we don't do this, you're going to be 57 anyway, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Now tell me how you're going to feel the Tuesday after Memorial Day in 2024 if you approach the tenacity of your job the same way and you approach the tenacity of your business the same way that we have been. And we said, if we don't do anything different, this won't happen. There's no chance this happens. if we don't build some standards and accountability into the growth of our business. So now, we didn't do that. We had a good quality life. We got amazing kids. You're still doing totally great. You're still smiling and happy. But Tuesday, after Memorial Day 2014, you're driving to your job. Will you have more work and effort that week than you would in this week?
Yes.
A month? And you tell me that you believe at a level 10 that based on the legitimate, the real problem we've got, the viable solution we've got, the solid system we've got, and the in-support systems that we've already got, the support that are in place, that this isn't just possible to you. This is a 10 in probability. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's a lot of accountability on my part.
Well, it just allows us to start thinking about how are we approaching and what energies are we attributing. Because we could look at this and go, oh my God, if I don't, now I failed. And this could actually be a heavy burden. This accountability thing could be a heavy burden. But the only person that can make this a heavy burden is you. Look, for me, can I be 1,000% honest? If 10 years from now this is my business, I will have faith. Because of my objectives. Your objectives and my objectives don't need to be the same. You have different things. We've started this. You have different things. You have different things. You have different things. This is not my goal. My goal is to have 50 of these. 100 of these. 500 of these. 1,000. 10,000 of these. Remember, how can we have 10,000? Same as we could have one. So there's going to be people in the room that are like, I want to be one. There are going to be people in the room that I want 5 of them. There are going to be people in the room that I want 10 of them, or 50 of them, or 100 of them. Some are going to be like, man, I just want to be half of one. Freaking great. We built a system where there's a place for anybody. But who's in charge of you? You! So if you don't like the energy that you're driving your car with, it ain't anyone else's fault. And it sure as shit isn't anyone else's responsibility. The dilemma is, we can't outperform our own self. And we are now in the team business. You know why? Because we've identified the problem, we've identified the solution, we've identified the system to develop it, we've identified the support systems in place, and now it simply comes down to, can we attract the people that are going to help us change this way? And the more real stuff like this becomes, the easier it becomes. But see, Cindy, this is incredibly real for you today. You're 57 years old, making $650,000 to $680,000 a year. It's already done. Minimum. Minimum. And just so that we're clear, for who you are and the impact you have, I think this is laughable. But I can see a little further. So this is a pretty good place to start. If this happened to you, did I just do that? If this happens to you, right? If this happens to you, we've changed your family's life. You've changed your family's life. It could be very easy. Or at least simply, maybe not easily. Who's in charge of that? You and I. That's right. This isn't a linear business. We have no idea the relationships and the connections. But what we do know is what we are building are assets. And the building pieces of assets can be linked. Now, where they take us, it's all over this. But we can lock in a new relationship. And when we lock in a new relationship, and they introduce us to a new relationship, all we've done is locked in a new relationship. And we don't limit where any of those relationships go. All sorts of good things. Does this make sense? Is this helping at all? It's kind of hoping somebody would have much bigger smiles than have right now. Somebody would think I need to take a nap.
That's only because I hate those two. I'm sorry?
I think I look at.
Do I hear gas? Oh, Sue. Sue. You do not want me to enter that area. I'm a large man.
So, anyone have any questions about where we are?
Are you saying so? You're saying that the building of a business is linear, but the results are not linear, and the going to a job is linear, but the results are linear.
To some degree.
Until you notice it.
Yeah. Exponential growth occurs. Look, what does that mean? I went on an appointment on a Thursday and rolled over $31,000. I went on an appointment on a Friday and rolled over $75,000 and met an owner that's going to introduce us to 300 people. There's no difference in the appointment. We don't know. And now the 300, where's that going to go? We don't know. There's just 300 more places to go, and we're going to cultivate, right? Robin recruited her assistant and decided not to get licensed. A couple months later, we recruited her assistant, and now Frank and Crystal are excited and almost done with school and want to open up 6 offices, right? We don't know where the pieces are going to go. What we did was we sat with Adeline and told her the story, and we sat with Crystal and told her the story.
I need an assistant.
Right? So that's all we know. So I want us to start dreaming again. I want us to start believing again. And I want us to start holding ourselves to a little bit higher standard. Not a huge standard yet. We've got to build to that. But I want us to at least check it. What standard are you holding yourself to? And are you coming from fear? Because this isn't about, look, this is, okay. In my old business, Sydney, I would, if you don't make this change, you're gonna, no. This is about you coming from lack. This is about you being able to catch yourself. When there are things that you want to do that you don't catch yourself doing it, go, God, Okay, look, it's worth getting me to do the things I need to do right now because there's something that I'm building towards. Not something I'm going to miss if I don't.
Yeah, the choices I made.
And the energy in which we come from. And to me, personally, now I don't have scientific proof on this yet, but the energy in which you come from, to me, is significantly more valuable than the place and the choice you actually make. Now, I cannot prove that yet. There might be a day. But I believe it with every fiber in me. The place in where we come from to make the choice that we make has more of an impact than even the choice we make. Okay, so when it comes to this team thing, there are some things that we need to do. Right, so we need to start building a culture that addresses that. So over the next couple of weeks, we're gonna roll out some new stuff. Right, on Saturdays we've got to get back into, and on August we got to get back into the recognition game. We've got to get back into kind of incentivizing people to do the right behaviors that we want them to do. So we're gonna create, you know, whether it's make phone calls or go on appointments, we're going to talk and kind of come up with, you know, bags of candy and different things. We're going to use what we know works, which is we all like candy, right? We all like how many of you like your name called? Right? We all like our name called. We all like being a part of something. Even the people are like, no, I don't, bullshit, I don't believe you, right? You get validation from being the one that says, no, I don't want it, right? Right? It all comes down. So we're gonna get back into what does it take to build a team. Look, we are going to attack this to the same level of veracity that we attack this. My headspace, I'm like, what do I do? Like, we got the support. Okay, but like I'm like, what do I do? Because I spend 18 hours a day with my head consumed with this and stuff. Now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, we're married and kids, right? Like, I got all that headspace, right? And then the business, we got the advocate program, we got all that headspace in this program, we got all that headspace, we got all this. I'm like sitting there going, shit. Okay, I got one topic. We're going to destroy this damn thing. And I want you guys along for the ride. But here's what I want. Here's what I would like. I would like for you to realize, I'd like for you to be able to look into the future and say, I know what it's going to look like. So I want to contribute and participate and add value to what is going to be created. How do I do that? Step one, increase your standard on yourself. 1 degree. Some of you maybe 2, but just increase your standard on yourself. Not 1,000 degrees. But do all of us have the room to increase the standard on ourselves 1 or 2 degrees when it comes to what we're trying? We've got this opportunity in front of us. I mean, dear, that's a hell of an opportunity in front of us, isn't it? We're not asking too much if we said, look, let's spend the next quarter, increase the standard on ourselves 1 or 2 degrees. And then we'll spend the next quarter increasing the standard on ourselves 1 or 2 degrees. But the good news is we get to compound it. We might wake up a year from now, be 8 or 9 or 10 degrees more intense. Some of you might be 25 degrees more intense because you're like, oh, I did one today and one tomorrow. And you might wake up and realize you got greatness calling in you and a platform to do it, and who knows what's going to happen. And some of you might think that you're 100 degrees right now on fire, right? And you're going to realize, no, I'm not. I'm not in the direction in which, I'm not in the direction of what is going to take to deliver this to my family. I've prioritized different things than I want prioritized to make sure that this is an inevitability, or whatever your version of this is. This is not the end-all be-all, but it's a really pretty cool option. And I think it's a really good way because what the distinction is, how many of these do you want? I want 10 of them. Great. Do you want 10 RVPs with 4? So you know I like 5 because it gets me to the 750. But if you had 10 RVPs with $15 million of assets of management personal and 30 to their district leader gaps, they were helping 30 families a month and they had 5 vice presidents that were helping 15 each, if you had 10 of these, or 3 of them, or 9 of them, or what, but, so step 1 is, we got to get you here, check. But we don't necessarily have to keep you here because you're going to talk to these guys about being these guys. Is everyone going to want to be one of these guys? No. Look, let's make sure this is perfectly clear and then we will move on to this. This is not a big base shop. $30 life apps is a $24,000 base shop. Trust me, that is not a big base shop. And Primerica is great at building. We're going to find some people that want to help 200 families a month, which is only going to exponentially grow this and develop more of these. This isn't conquer the world stuff. Bray, you don't have a $25,000 base shop. I know, we haven't focused on it. Give me 6 weeks, 6 months. Year, 2 years, 5 years. I'm about to show you something. You're going to realize how quickly we're going to get there. Cindy, are you telling me that if we spent the next 10 years, we couldn't have a little base shop? That saves you $750,000 a year with no effort to run it effectively.
Also, too, incredibly low overhead. So that's all profit.
It's all profit.
I have a friend who probably makes that much a year, but his overhead a month is $500,000. So he has $6 million a year of overhead to probably make $1 million.
Here, you're paying access support to service clients, and you got an office. And a cool front office person that answers the phone that everyone loves. That's your business expenses. And because we have this, with this, this is what I got. All right. This and then I'll this is building with this. This company has never attracted this. Well, that's not true. Art attracted this. Bob Safford used to run Hamilton Insurance. Bob Turley was a Cy Young winner. There were some entrepreneurs that came in and saw the opportunity. We have a platform where we're going to be able to attract people who choose this because they'll understand this. And they're no different than anyone else, but they're going to come in with a different market, a different group of people, and an opportunity to be able to go through and to have explosive growth. It's into your whole life. Financially, now check this last little piece and then go. You make sure you completely get this. Completely get this. All right? Completely get this.
Okay.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You own it. You own it. How old's Philip? He's 14. So you'll be 57 and he'll be how old? 24. At a 9% rate of return, if all we did was grow this, and then the market returned to 9%, and all we did was add new monies just to replace the monies that went out. And if we build this machine, it's not going to stop. But let's just say all you did was had a machine that contributed the same amount of money that your clients withdrew from other side. You with me? In 8 years, Philip would be 32. In 8 years after that, he's 40, 48, and 55. So he's 2 years younger. At this point, he's 2 years younger than you are here. Your income is $200,000 in passive income from the managed accounts. By the time Philip is 55 years old, your business income that you worked on just for the next 10 years, not your RVPs, not any new monies that were added during those 31 years, is a business that would pay your family $3.2 million a year in passive income, not revenue, and not profit. Just from the work we did in the next 10 years. And you have true ownership. Do you think we should consider increasing the standard on ourselves? All of us. A little bit. Only if you believe that the problem is real. If you don't believe the problem is real, do not increase the standard on yourself. So just don't do it. Only if you believe that the solution is viable. Because if you don't think the solution is viable, I'm full of crap, do not increase the standard. Only if you believe the systems are in place. And add that. If you don't believe that this is legitimate, do not increase the standard. And only if you believe the strategic partnership support systems are in place. If you don't believe one or any of these, do not believe that this is going to happen, because it won't. Because for this to work, these four have to be in place. But if you do, the only thing that's going to separate the theory to the practical is the people we attract. The amount of people we attract, the quality of people we attract, and the thinking they have. And if we want to attract people that want to participate in this, we have to grow. We have to be bigger. We have to increase this. And we have to start now. Excited? Good stuff? Helpful? All right. So there's the theory. We're going to get into practical for a bit. Okay. We've heard this. What do? We got to get wide. We work up our list, identify our temperature, develop our game plan, and execute. We've got to master the conversations, and we've got to build allies, advocates, associates. Get great at this story because it's going to help you with your perspective. Guys, 30-second commercial. Tell this story to yourself 4, 5, 6 times a day. Get really good at it, and check your temperature. If you are not so excited by the time you're done explaining this system to yourself, to your dog, to your cat, to your next door neighbor, or let alone another human being, check your perspective. For me, it is impossible to tell and spell out this story and not be giddy as a schoolboy. I just can't do it. I just can't. Opportunity and possibilities are abound when you understand what's here. The place for people, the opportunity to connect, right? So I want to give like a 30-second commercial because Susu, right? You just from there because you and Cindy were talking. So I asked Cindy, I asked her to kind of tell her side of the story in terms of what's going on, so you guys can hear this kind of in this possibility. Can you share?
I can. So Cindy and I were talking after practice last week, right? Mm-hmm. And we were talking about her work and the people at her work and our financial wellness workshops and how many, I think I started by how many people are at your work or something, and there's like 400 people, and she's in HR. And we were talking, and I said, oh my gosh, I said, how many of them would love to have to hear something like this, how many of them would it solve a problem for? She's going, well, I think just about everyone, but I don't know how to get to them because this is my business, and if I'm saying something there's that conflict type thing and what's going on. And so we were talking, and I said, well, what would happen if you would just listen to what they're saying during lunch or whatever? Maybe something would open up to where you could actually say something. So as the week went on, I talked to her again, and I'm going to let her tell the story because she started listening, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I eat in the lunchroom, and there's always tables of people talking, mostly engineers, and they're always talking about their retirements and what they're doing, where they're putting their money. And our company's changing our retirement contribution. By 2016, it's going to be less. They're going to be contributing less. So when they all presented that to everyone, they said, oh, but don't worry, we're going to have financial people that you can talk to, and there's a phone number you can call, and so don't worry about how all that's going to. They're just telling people, not to worry. But still, I hear people in the lunchroom, they never raise their hand when they have a question in the meetings. They're like, they don't say anything, but they're all talking in the lunchroom. So, so they always look over to me because I just sit by myself, and everyone else is just, because I'm like HR, right? I'm not HR in the lunchroom. I'm just Cindy. So, but anyways, they look over to me and they're like, well, what about this retirement thing that's going to be happening? They think I kind of know everything because of my position. I'm like, well, I don't know exactly everything, and it depends on when you started with the company. Everyone's situation is different. And I said, wouldn't it be helpful if we had someone here we can ask questions, not just a phone number? And they're like, well, yeah, because a lot of us don't know what's going on. We're just going with everyone else. So it was me yesterday who came to my desk, the president. His name's Troy. And we are having a United Way campaign starting next week. And United Way is coming in, and they're going to talk about how we all can support the homeless and programs that they support with our donations. And then I told him, well, you're really, you think about the community, right? And he goes, well, we need to, educate people. And I'm like, oh my God. Brett, where are you? I got to get the word. I just was just like, I knew what to say, but I didn't want to overdo it. So I'm just listening to him, and he's got a vision of how he can help people in the community, but not just ask people for money. He's just trying to figure out how to get everybody involved. But talking about, so I kind of like thought of it as planting a seed with him. He goes, well, I told him, that's something I work on outside of here, helping people in the community. That's something that I'm focused on. And he looked at me and he said, oh, that's a good thing. So it's just sort of, I wanted to ask him about having Brett come in and talk to our people during lunchtime. But, maybe that's something we can talk about. I just worry that, I've signed a conflict of interest form because it's all corporate.
Yeah.
Everything has to be in writing.
Well, and that's the fun part of the conversation. So I wasn't a part of either of these conversations, right? But here's an RVP who understands the system, understands what's going on, getting into a conversation with Lita that's coming up, developing, asking questions, and what's possible. Now, we don't know where things can go, but there's all sorts of possibilities, right? She's very close with the owner. She could walk into the owner on Tuesday and go, you know what is funny is I was talking to a friend of mine, and you were talking about this in the lunchroom, and there's really someone I'd like you to meet, right? He's the senior vice president, runs a financial services company, they specialize in wellness, and I don't know if there's a match, but I think you guys should know each other. She can go there. And if he goes, great, I'd love to meet him, I go in, have a conversation, and now all of a sudden there's a platform for conversations that can grow that's enhancing Cindy's business. Now let's say Cindy can't probably go in and run these financial wellness seminars, right or wrong. Sign it on. But let's say Cindy had, I don't know, her 19-year-old son fully licensed, and 6 other people licensed. And all of a sudden, every year we went in and serviced and did a financial wellness seminar for this company. And Cindy's team, which they don't know Cindy overrides, is there as a part of it to be able to cultivate. Could Cindy's business grow? Now, is that going to happen? We have no idea. But you know what's possible? The conversation.
Also awesome is when Cindy brings people into her business, she can share that story with them, and she can be like, look, you can talk to the president of anyone. You can talk to anyone. I've done it. It's a piece of cake. You just have to know the stories and be interested in helping the community and find a common ground. So Cindy now has a platform to be able to coach people to do just exactly what she did.
There's one more little piece to this, because I think that's amazing. I had not heard what happened.
That just happened yesterday.
Okay, so Cindy and I on Wednesday night have a follow-up conversation, and we're talking about all of this, and she's saying, you know what, though, the person I would go to is the head of HR. But the head of HR isn't there anymore, right? So she's going, I'm going to have to wait. And I said, well, wait a second, why would you have to wait? Who would be the next person you talk to? Well, I guess it would be the president of the company. I said, do you know him well enough to go ahead and have just a conversation with him? And she goes, yeah. She goes, well, I'm going to have the opportunity. Here's the amazing part. Throwing that out there, and he comes to her desk, that's the amazing. That's awesome.
It was unbelievable.
That's awesome. Wherever it leads, whatever the next step is. That's awesome because it gave a platform to go to the next part or the next part or the next part. Having the conversation that Brett just said, that's amazing. Having another conversation that, depending on where you go with it and stuff, of, you know what, you were talking about the community. You know what, I was just thinking the community here, and you could lead into that too. I know somebody, because he's already big on community, and he's not thinking about the community there. So that's kind of awesome too.
This stuff comes only from him. Richard, only from him. There's exactly 0 chance I ever meet Troy and have a platform for conversations about. Except one person. Cindy. Cindy, if you had 50 people on your team, 100 people on your team, 1,000 people on your team, how many Troys do you think they would know in their career? Did you hear it sound familiar? What was your conversation? Exactly the same thing. We're going to get in and have that conversation. So now as we've started this, so let's go back to Mark for a second. The proverbial Mark, or Cindy, or wherever. While we're building this, what's happening inside this business? Because there's one person who knows what's going to happen. One person who knows what's going to happen. This side of the room could be in front of 1,000 people by the end of the year. Based on the relationships they've got. Are they all going to pull through? No idea. But that's 3 people. We have the language, the system, the problem, the solution, the system, and the support in place. An inevitable result of the system is building our allies, advocates, and associates. Our advocate methodology gives us a platform for explosive growth, guys. Will we Yes, we will figure out every conversation that we need to have. By the time, a year from now, you could have the Cindy method. You could have we'll come up with different, if you have this and that, and we can have mastermind groups of how do we get this. For sure. Art Williams, when he did this, it's funny. I'm having a very surreal moment right this second. 4 years ago, we stood in a room. I stood in this room, and I said, I'm not Art Williams. Art Williams was state football coach of the year. Bill Whittle played at LSU. Was this big, strong, large, tall guy with big personality, going to LSU, knows everybody, and all this other stuff. So Bill Whittle, when we had this conversation, was dominating the country, had the most explosive hierarchy growing. Right? He'd been here for a long time. He's charismatic. He knows that he's got all these relationships, and all these people would seek him out, and they grow because of his reputation. And I'm like, I'm not Art Williams. I'm not Bill Whittle. I'm not that guy. And I can't build a business that way. You can't write a letter to 22 people and have 11 of them go, yes, you can come talk to me because you were 6-time state champion of the year, and I don't know anything about you, but I know you, so I will listen to you. So there's a platform, and I will give you a tremendous amount of credibility in that conversation. Did you hear that person? I'm not that person. And I built a business the first 15 years thinking and trying to be that person, but trying not to be that person. And we said, if we're going to do this, we have to build a business where we can stand in front of a room and tell people from average and ordinary backgrounds, not average and ordinary people, but people from average and ordinary backgrounds, but you might not be 6-time state coach of the year, but you can still build a business like this. And we went to work to be able to build a language and a platform to be able to do it. Lisa, I am not a 6-time state coach of the year. But you know what? I have a business now that might introduce me to Tom someday, might introduce me to Dick, and what's the owner's name? It might introduce me to Steve one day. And I didn't have to be that good. Chris, Tom, Steve, and Nick. That sounds like a boy band. Richard, you might not know all the people you want to know. You might not know, you might not have come from the right side of the tracks, you might not have all of the relationships. But man, you can meet great people, attract a great business, and attract amazing people you want to be in business with, and connect with their relationships and foundations, and understand that you're going to help them build something for their family. And because the problem is real, the solution is viable, the system is solid, and the support is in place, and there's an objective that they get to fight for, our lives get changed.
Can I share with you guys a little bit of the week I've had, because I think it shows some of the stuff really well. It's interesting. I had a great week, by the way, and anybody who was here last week, I talked about it, and like Wade said, it came from all different places. Well, this week was probably equally as good for the same type of reasons. But I went to a networking meeting called Team. And I don't know if it's an amazing called Team. It means together, everyone achieves more, but that networking group happens to be called that. And every time, and guys, this one is a true networking thing where they want to get referrals and all that kind of stuff. But I'm taking it to a different level. But they ask you every week, what are you looking for this week? And my comment was, and I just wanted to throw it out there so I have it in the future, that I want to get to know the head of all the PTAs or a member of an organization. I want to get to know someone. Okay? So that's going to come. I know that's going to come. So that was kind of interesting. But then I sat down with a gal that her husband had passed away last year, and she was a little bit back and forth, and we helped her a lot. But the reason I got to sit down with her was because of the relationships, AAA'z Advocates and Associates to begin with. The only person she trusted, because the only person her husband trusted was me. So now she trusts me and her sister-in-law, who is on my team. So I go back in, and we're going to get the other $250,000 from her. And but she wants to talk to her sister-in-law first. And I'm going, absolutely, this is amazing, because sister-in-law is on the team. She knows where we're going. It's the whole thing. It's the relationship to the relationship. But the interesting part was, then she mentions to me, I want to do this business. I want to learn how to do this stuff. So my phone call to her sister-in-law is, your team's growing. How awesome is that? Just from building relationships. So that was the first thing. Any of us have those, right? All of us have those. So then I sat down with my two young friends who their mom passed away, got them all taken care of. But this was all because I had built the relationship with their mom and their dad. And by the way, their dad, they talked to, and he said, I wish we would put $1 million for children. So you guys could be. So I think that coming from where he is right now, I think that was pretty awesome. But anyway, so now, because of that relationship, they listen to me. And they listen to me. This is a 20-year-old and a 24-year-old. So that they're not going to run through whatever money they have now, which is a really big deal. But I think part of the interesting stuff in there is that the son, who I really didn't get to see all that often before this, texts me afterwards. And he texts me with, great seeing you too, thank you so much, and thank you so much, and being awesome. And I had asked a question, he answered the question, which was a huge deal. So we're all keeping in touch from there on out, right? Okay, and then, because this isn't the end of the week yet,
what does he do?
What does he do? Oh my God, this is going to be huge. He's a musician, and he's a great studio musician, and he plays in a band and stuff too, more than one band. And he's opened up for Alan Jackson and a bunch of other people. So he's got a career path that is just going. His sister, by the way, is interested in this. So can you imagine where that will take that whole family and where that's going to go? Just it's allies and advocates, just all the family. Then when I'm talking to them, I get this phone call that I have to take really quick from somebody named Sunny, and I said, "What's your last name?" And she tells me. Okay, this is a relationship that was built a long time ago. It was a gal that I had worked with over at one of the dental offices. Well, Sunny lives in Colorado, and she says, "I'm coming into town. My brother is graduating next Thursday and Friday. And my mom wants me to sit down with you. It's time for me to get my stuff going." That is just relationships and where it'll take you and where it'll take you. So that's pretty huge. And then I went over to, and this is the last one because I don't want to get boring, but I just want you guys to see it comes from everywhere, just the relationships. When you start doing the AAA'z Advocates and Associates, you never know what any of this stuff is going to take you. But I was over at a function for Seroptimus. And it was a really cool function. It was a lot of us in the room, and we went through the room, and it was basically tell us something you don't know about yourself, because we just decided there were other people in the room, and it would be nice to get to know everyone. I got to tell you, I knew a lot of those ladies, and the stuff that I heard, some amazing things that we've never known, and just your relationship gets deeper and deeper. Well, this one gal says something you don't know about me. She says, "I'm on the board of both PTAs." Crazy. No, there's a little challenge here because she's also calling bound strategy, so I got to figure out how to do that one a little bit. But I've known her for a long time because she used to be a patient of mine. But how crazy is that? You put it out on Tuesday, and on Thursday, I'm on the board, and I'm going, hey! So that was kind of an interesting week. But how many times does all that stuff happen to all of us? Like that with your boss coming over to your desk and just opening stuff up that comes to one conversation. So
Thank you for sharing. So those are the types of things that we get really good at explaining to ourselves. That helps us with perspective. Right? Whenever Sue has a week where things aren't the way they want them, she wants them to go, she has that story. She has this week to be able to go. The work, the time, the effort. We don't know where it's coming from. We don't know what's getting created. Right? So it allows us to reset our perspective to help ourselves to be able to tell the people in our lives. Because there's a platform for support. Life's not about all of us, right? There's going to be good times and bad times and challenges. But the more support, the more vision that we can let the people in our lives be able to hold on to, the stronger a place. And then for our grapple, the associates, the folks, the ability. Today, the conversation about what's possible gets us to start realizing that as we build this foundation, there's opportunities that present themselves that we're not directly involved in. So, but the part that I want to introduce today from a practical side works here. Okay. Now, when I do this for you guys, and we have this conversation and talk to a bunch of us, and I think we think that this is the primary objective of this language has to do with our farm system. Right? What do? We turn to our farm system and we go, who's hot, who's warm, who's lukewarm, who's frozen. We build our list of our hots, of our warms, of our lukewarms, and then we develop a game plan. I'm going to call them, I'm going to call them, I'm going to email them, I'm going to text them, and then I build that accountability piece in so I execute with purpose. Right? This is the fundamental piece of flushing out our farm system. Right? And here's, Cindy, we want to know, where's that 1 degree more intention? It's in executing the plan with purpose. Develop your plan. Well, I guess it's step 1. So if we haven't developed our list, then the intention is to develop our list. And then it's to identify it. And then it's to develop it. And then it's to execute. But the language has been built. This doesn't say work your farm system. It says run your life. See, here's the reality of the situation. Okay, so I'm going to go through this so that you guys can see this. Because I want you to start, like, we've got to start flushing these pieces out. So, my roster. Our roster. Okay. So, Frank, Crystal, Richard, Oscar, and Candy, Caesar, Joseph, Elvira, Yesenia and Victor, Todd, Bill, Sherry, William, Paula, Stephen, and Jean. Okay. I have a goal. We have a goal of 20 codes in the month of June. Okay? 20 codes in the month of June. That'll be more codes than 2012, 2011, 2012, and 2013 combined. No. In my measure. That'll be fun. Will we hit it? Now, this looks like a lie. No. we start putting a plan together, and I go, okay, I need to work this. How do I gotta work this? I gotta develop. I gotta move my roster to players. So what do I do? You know what I do is I gotta get why. One, I gotta write up a list. Two, I have to identify their temperatures. Hot. What's the key word to hot?
Yes.
Yes. What's the key word to warm? What's the key word to lukewarm? Oh. What's the key word to frozen? Wow, okay. I got a question. Who is hot in the, yes, I want to get licensed in the month of June business? Frank. Crystal. Richard has his test date. Joseph has his test date. Oscar has his test date. Who's warm? Well, Elvira can schedule her test, but is a little nervous on the scheduling of it. Wants to? Really wants to? Sure, I want to. I really want to. I'm taking my test. I really want to. Is there a difference? I'm taking my test. I really want to. Is there a difference? Yes. Should I talk to Elvira differently than I talk to Richard when it comes to the test? Yes. I tell Richard, we have a review class June 9th. It's going to be here. You'll be just past his test. He's going to run it. It's Monday night from 6 to 8. Can you come? What's the likelihood of Richard going, yes? Why? Richard's hot. If Richard can, Richard will be here. Elvira, we have a review class. Can you come? Can I say, Elvira, we have a review class. Can you come? Can I ask? Should I phrase it that way? Why? What is she going to say? Sure, I should be able to. But if she, does this make sense?
Right.
I need to move Elvira from warm to hot. Elvira, I got a question. If there was a support system, we could have a class that helped make sure that you were prepared. Is that something you want to be a part of? Yes, okay, we're going to put one together. I think June 9th, would that work? Yes. Does this make sense? My job is to help facilitate my roster to my players. If I talk to them like this, I'm talking to them all the same. Are they all the same? No. Right? Caesar Candy. Yesenia, I'm doing my hours. Okay, we got to do the rest. She did 38 hours, 32 hours on the code methods, right? No, you got to do it on the other one too, right? So she hit a really good burst. She got through a ton of hours. Found out that it didn't go the way she wanted to. Now it's harder to get her back on it. That's important for us to know. It's my sister. She'll do it. Yeah, but her actions are saying. And then we got lukewarm. I got William. Yes, I've taken it once. I didn't pass. Do you want to? Yes, I do, but not right now. But I do really want to, but not right now. But I really want to, but I will. How important is it that I know that William is lukewarm and not hot? Because if I'm trying to get William to go from lukewarm to hot, I am not going to talk to him right. What do I need to do? I need to move William from lukewarm to warm. We said, hey, I got a question. If we had a review class, would that help? Yes, it would. Great, we're looking into it. Now he's like, are you having the review class? Hey! This make sense? Well, I just talk to people, and if they don't like it, great. You just don't get to build a business. And then we got frozen. I really like this idea. I just don't really think I want to do it today. No, you're going to get big. I'm going to get in and make sure that you're, I'm going to make sure that you're really, really committed. But no, let's, Kate, do you think we can register for, can we do? Why? What do we need to do? We need to get why. We write up the list. We identify the temperature. We develop a game plan. And then we execute the game plan with purpose. Is there any difference between moving our roster to players than there is moving our farm system to our draft board, to the bullpen? You want to know something really crazy? If we want to build a 30-app business, we need starters. Cannot have a 30-app, 30 IBA business, a team that recruits 30 associates and writes business commensurate with that without starters. Can't happen. Can't happen. So I said, man, we need some starters. You know what I need to do? I need to get wide. I write a list. My way, Tira, Cindy, Lisa, Don, Yubi, David. I got my list. I wrote it up. Identify. How? What are my words? Yes. Sure. Oh. Wow. Can I put one of these words next to these names with the intention of creating that? Yeah. Is that a prop? No. Why? Because the moment I do, I can develop a plan and execute that plan because our business needs starters, and then we need captains. So here's why'd you spend an hour and a half on intention? I mean, you probably could have done the whole first part in about 20 minutes. Why'd you spend an hour and a half on intention? Because our business is built on intention. It's built on standard. We all know how to wing it, don't we? If you need to, you get into a conversation, you can say something, right? You don't need strong intention. You just need the opportunity for a conversation. And we got this pretty much down. We can explain it pretty well. Guys, at the end of the day, it's going to become about getting money. Building our business is going to be running our lane, working up your list, identifying its temperature, developing the game plan, and executing it. Whether it's working your farm system, developing your draft board, supporting your roster, instructing your players, driving your starters, or coaching your captains, or even playing with your owners. It's going to come down to our ability to get one. Now, Richard. I really believe that if we get 20 votes in the month of June, some really cool stuff is going to happen. I'd love for you to take this seriously and be a part of it. I'd really love to send you a picture of your friend. I'd really love talking to you. I'd really love all of us. I'd love Arturo to have you a part. I'd love to do everything we could to say, look, let's do a 5-week game plan and put together skill building and trainings and all sorts of stuff. But what we're ultimately going to be able to do is use this as an opportunity to say, down the line, and this is, we're learning all this stuff, guys, but we're going to go, here are all of our systems. Hot, we'll use them all. Warm, we'll use some. Lukewarm, we'll use fewer. And frozen, we'll use fewer. But we're going to have them so we can teach them. Why? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to we have a phenomenal system to attract an amazing group of people that can help us change the world and change their. And that's our Saturday. Have a good family this weekend. Take a moment and be grateful for the opportunity that's in front of us. My recommendation. We have something special. I am incredibly grateful for the kids in this room, people who have stayed and gone through this stuff. This is what we're doing. Over the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to build some new systems, and we're going to flesh it out and get really good at it, and all sorts of cool stuff are going to come. You guys, Cindy, at 57 years old, $50,000 a month will start to change with it. And you don't have to wait till 57. This could be 52. How about an extra 5 years of freedom?
Awesome.
How old are you?
Yes, no, don't say 25.
Imagine 35 years old. Imagine 35 years old. New friend, kids. It's going to happen overnight. It's going to happen by accident. But if it happens with intention, can it happen? So everyone in this room, what is your job description? You got to get white this weekend. You got to stop careening from side to side. Stop trying to make stuff happen that isn't in front of us, and take the very next step. I mean, 20 licenses in the month of July, or the month of June. 20 people taking past their test. We're going to put together the systems and get it done. We want everyone to be part of it. June 4th is our next AA'z night. Let's blow it out. Next Saturday is our next practice. Let's blow it out. Let's get more people in this room. Let's give people the story of the past no longer needs to be told. Now we just get to really focus on the growth of where things are going. Let's start our intention. I love you guys. And say, no superstar!
Right.
Love you guys.
Hello.